Assalamu alaikum and welcome to a new video on this channel, and in today's video we are going to start with the Thuluth script, which is something I know that a lot of you are really looking forward to it and you've been waiting for this thing. I've decided to actually go on and make the videos on Thuluth because I don't think I will get any better with regards to this script. So Thuluth, what you need glossy paper, a really good pen, which is something we're going to talk about right now, how to cut it, and an inkwell like this one. We are not going to use the other pen because in a way or another I think we are better off using the bamboo ones for the Thuluth because it is a demanding script. So what you are going to start with, number one, make yourself comfortable because I'm not that comfortable right now. Number two is the pen itself. What and how are we going to cut? How are we going to cut this pen? You get your pen, the bamboo one. Let's say this one looks like this. Comes straight. I'm gonna put this just to show you the angle. So as you can see, the angle of the pen is really sort of way more than the ruqa or the farsi. So for this one, what you are going to do is to measure. You're going to take this side of the pen, which is the flat side. You see, if you took half of it and you went down the left here, it is slightly shorter of the half. So it's like you've got 1 millimeter here and then you have two halves next to each other. So this is how you need to cut it. You need to cut it roughly with this angle. Okay, some people could say 45 degrees for 40 something degrees. Just use the pen itself as a guideline for you. This way you would cut it. This pen would work with you for Thuluth and Nasikh. It will not work for you with regards to, it will not work with you on scripts such as Farsi or Ruqa or Diwani. So don't use it for those scripts. I hope this is clear. This is the first thing, the cut of the pen. Very important. Don't just use a pen that you found. Double check that it works for Thuluth before using it, because it will be very tricky to use a Ruqa pen to write Thuluth with. Now, the second thing we are going to talk about would be the way we hold the pen with. As you can see, I'm holding a pen this way. You don't hold it like really close. This will be very annoying while writing. So go back a couple of centimeters off the pen, make yourself comfortable, feel that you have a control over the pen that, feels very delicate in your hand instead of really stressing on it. And the cut itself, you will hold it with an angle of around 75 degrees. Like, for example, if this was a perpendicular angle, you would go for this angle basically. And with regards to this script, you are going to change the angle throughout the script, so don't be too fussed about it. It might change throughout the writing sort of thing, but yeah, for a start we're gonna start with this angle, 75 degrees. The third point we're going to talk about before starting would be the dots. So we have the dots that we scale the letters with, and those vary from vertical dots for vertical scaling and for horizontal scaling. So vertical scaling, what you're going to make are dots that are slightly sort of diamond shape. You're going to hold the pen with the sort of 75 degrees that we talked about, and you are going to move to the right, as you can see here, but to the right downward. And this would be your vertical scale. The horizontal one, on the other hand, you're going to change this angle into a vertical angle, and you're going to move to the right instead of upward. And it's going to look fat. There's a difference between this horizontal scale point and this vertical scale point, as you can see. So for example, if you took this one and you put it here, you will find that this angle is different than the other one, this one. So these are the points for the scale. The points for the writing after you write a letter, for example, a ba or a ta or a tha or whatever, and you want to write those those dots, those are way different. For those ones, you're going to hold the pen with this angle. Let's say it's 60 degrees. You're going to move down to the right, perpendicular to this angle, and you're going to make it really long, like it's one width of the pen and a quarter of that. So you're going to feel like, oh, I'm going really far with this dot. These are the dots. This is the one dot for letters. If you had two dots, those could come next to each other, one, and when you move to the next one, you overlap them, two. So you can see here, there's this small end start thing. So the left point ends here, for example. The right point starts from here. So you have an area where they overlap, just like this. They either come next to each other or on top of each other, just like this. The three dots for the letter sheen or tha, they either come like this, a triangular way of writing them. And with regards to the third one, you'll find that this space here is smaller than this one, and it will extrude, so don't bother trying to fit it inside these edges of these two. So the 3 points either come like a triangle on top of each other, or they come next to each other. 1, 2, 3. In very rare cases, I think they come on top of each other. But yeah, let's just stick with the next to each other and triangular shape. I know you wanted to learn Thuluth, so even dots in Thuluth have this thing about them. It is a very demanding script, I have to warn you. Now, let's start with the first letter, letter Alef. Before we start that, you're going to hold your pen with the angle that we talked about, and you're going to simply move your arm and move downward just like this. I'm not going to give you any instructions on this, just move your arm to get a nice straight line, because you're going to need that, because the letters here are bigger than the other scripts. Letter Alef is basically a very interesting letter, and it's in a way one of the hardest in this script. It consists of two parts. The first part would be the top part of the Alef, the hilya, which is a decoration on top of the Alef that looks something like this. The second part would be the Alef itself, which is something that needs to be cared for because it has several qualities and standards or secrets to keep in mind. So this is just a quick one just to show you the two parts. The first part would be the decoration on top of the Alef, this one, the hilya. The second one would be the Alef itself, which is this one. Now, how to write this letter? The scale for this letter varies with regards to height from 7 points to 12 points. Now that would be the general or the normal Alef. If you were doing tarakib, which is basically or diwani jelly, or thuluth jelly, you're gonna be using sort of alefs that are really short. In some cases you might go down to 5, and in ta, letter ta, you're gonna use the 4 points of height. But normally the standard one would be 7 points of height. So these are 6, and here we have 7. And again, we are using the vertical, because we are scaling in a vertical way. Those are the vertical dots, which are sort of stretched a bit. 7 points of height, the normal way of writing it. And the hilya, this guy, is 1.5 points of height. So we're gonna come to the 1.5 and just mark this edge, this sort of level of it. The width of the hilya is 1 point, as you can see here. Now, the Alef sort of goes slightly to the left, it sort of slants to the left a bit. So for that one, I'm going to leave half a point here, just so that I know where I'm going to start, so that it will not sort of overlap to the right of the point here. And from this point, I'm going to add 1 point that is basically the scaling for the hilya. Now, I've got this rectangular that shows me where my top part would be, this one. For that one, what you're going to do is measure half a point here, as you can see. You're going to put your pen, you see where I've put the pen. So the cut will touch the top line and it will touch the left sort of intersection between the half point and this line. And I'm going to move downward. But I'm not going to move downward all the way, I'm going to stop right here. Now, while moving downward, keep an eye on this edge so that you would move towards it. Keep an eye on that. So when you move down with an angle that is pointing towards this edge down here. And you would stop. Don't continue, don't finish it. Then you're going to move on to making the Alef. All right, this is the way I make it. Other people sort of write it in a different way. So you might figure out that you can. We're going to look into it in a bit, but you might find that you prefer another way of writing it. Now, we're going to write the Alef itself. The Alef has 3 main sort of parts. The first one would be going down with a slight curvature to the right. The second part would be a straight line, no curvature at all. The third part would be a slight curvature to the left. So these 3 parts, I exaggerated the amount of curvature they might have and the cut and the straightness and this inclination, but I'm doing that to show you that it does go to the right while moving downward, and it has like 2 curves on top and bottom, and there's a center part that is straight. So you're going to start from here, you're going to go down, moving slightly to the right with a curvature. Now we're going to stop here. How am I going to figure out when the Alef, or where the Alef starts? Because obviously I can start it from here and go down, or I could simply go back and start it from here and go down, and this is just different, it's a different shape. So what you're going to do is go for the first part, the one that we just talked about, this hilya. And the hilya here has 3 parts. So 1, 2, 3. Divide it into 3 thirds, let's say, into thirds. And the first third is the one that your Alef will extrude from. You see here? The first third would be the one on top of the Alef. The second third would be the one inside the Alef, and the third third would be the one with the decoration out here. So 1 goes down with an Alef, 2, the one that the decoration sort of comes through, and then 3, that is basically the decoration itself. This way you will figure out how this part or this side of the Alef is made. So we did the first part, which would kind of stop here. The second part would go all the way to here, and the third part would be this small bit down here. So the second part, it could go thicker, but it's straight, and the last part would be going back to the left, just like this. I hope it's clear. Now, this end part, you will find that it is very different from one calligraphy to the other. Sometimes you'll find that it is very thick and it will go basically like this. Or it could be thin, it could have a small nudge to it. So with regards to the end part, just basically go straight, go left and stop. Don't overthink, don't overdo it. Keep it simple. Now, if we took a line, straight line down to here, it's half a point because we started half a point away from that area, and it's 7 points height. That is good. We've got our first part that is going down to the right, sort of in straight, in a slight curvature this way, then straight, then curvature. Now, the last part would be from the 1.5 points. So this last bit that is curved is 1.5 high. All right, keep that in mind. Then you would go back to the top part and you would finish your hilya by coloring it, just the way I did that. Now, let's talk more about the hilya. Now, the hilya has several sort of aspects that we need to keep in mind with regards to how to make it. If you were to use a big pen, at least bigger than this one, there are some delicate details, or there are some details that are going to show up. The first one would be the movement of the hilya. So the first third of the hilya would have a curvature this way, like this, for example. But I'm exaggerating, I'm overdoing the curvature. The second third would have a curvature the other way around, this way. And the third one, which is the finish, would have this shape. So the hilya, the top part of it, is actually divided into 3 parts with regards to the curvature. So 1 going down, 2 going back up, and 3 which is going down and curving back to finish it. But that won't show in small pens. This is the first note. The second note would be the intersect, like the thirds that we talked about, these here that we mentioned over there. So you need those to know where the alef will break. So make sure to keep those in mind. Third note would be the intersection with the alef, this part, this edge, the inside intersection with the alef. With bigger pens, you're going to find that your alef is going down, and when the hilya extrudes from here, it will not be this sharp edge. It will actually look like this. It will have up, right, down, left. It will look more like this, because when you come out with your alef and you're sort of curving it this way and you're coming back with you see it's actually visible here. There is a small edge here that would look like this. So that is for big pens, so that you keep an eye on this shape when you write huge alefs. I'm talking about the inner edge of the hilya. If it's too complicated for you, just forget about it. The last part, in my opinion, that we're going to talk about now for the hilya would be the right edge of it. So you color this part of the hilya. You don't write it with pens. Some people use a paper to write it. But yeah, just connect. Basically what you do is that you connect this edge all the way down to here, and this edge would come back and connect with this one. So after doing the scaling, actually you need to do the scale for this one to not mess it up. So this is going down to here, and this will sort of connect with this. So this part, the right edge of it, would look something like this. This is the line that is coming from up, and it will then have another angle, a chamfer here, sort of, that will connect with this edge. But this, again, will show in really big sizes. So you will have your letter coming, your top part of it, then you will have this joint between the top edge of the hilya and the edge that is coming from the left. So these are notes with regards to the hilya. The ones that you need to keep an eye on are the scale, how to end the last part of it, because you don't want it to end really far on the right, and where to extrude your alef from. I hope that would be clear with regards to the alef. I'm going to just write one without talking so that you could sort of see how the pen moves. Now, with regards to the last part here, when you move to the right, you could lift the pen a bit so that you could just use the tip of the pen to finish it neatly. So yeah, here you have your Alef, inclined, looking pretty, closing it in here. This is where it broke. This top part, yeah, basically this is your Alef. Higher than this, longer than this, shorter than this, it doesn't matter. It's all the same concept. When the Alef connects, and that's what we're going to finish with today, you're going to go up with a nice smooth curve up here, and the Alef at the end will go to the left. This is the first part, which is going up. Then you're going to do a straight line that is inclined to the left. The last part would extrude more to the left, just like this. So you've got three parts: the curvature up, the straight line, and the one that goes to the left. And here again is your half point, showing that you did go sort of slanted it slightly to the left, just like the Alef. So they all would look sort of moving. So when you do that without this sort of, and the scale would be 7 points, so that would be governed by your Alefs generally. You'd be going up straight, then back to the left. And I want you to notice something here, which would be, you see how it's thin here and then it changes thickness because you went to the left. So it's more of a, like, as if it was blossoming. It just opens slightly to at the top, and it's those details that make the script look alive. Anyway, this is for today's video. I hope it was beneficial. Do the Alef by itself and the connected one. This script might take a very long period of time to be taught and learned, but here we go. We did a start with it. Let's see how it goes. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about Arabic calligraphy. And yeah, this has been Ammar Abaudi, and see you in the next video. Have a lovely day, evening, or night, and goodbye.